Hello and welcome to KapsOff, episode 6. First of all, I just want to thank the KapsOff community for showing love on all the socials and our YouTube channel. We see that. Much love and respect for that. Now, with that being said, I'd like to introduce my fellow co-presenters and brothers in arms, Mr. Shaka.
Hello everyone.
And the man himself, Kaps.
Brothers in arms. How you doing? Good evening everybody.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about an illness that we think goes underneath the radar because it's invisible, you can't see it. But a lot of people suffer from this condition and some may not know because they get diagnosed later in life. It's not something that you're initially born with. It's more prone in women than it is in men, and it's called MS, which stands for multiple sclerosis. And our next guest is going to give us an insight into her life living with MS. Now, you may have seen this guest before because she's been on one of our previous shows. And I'd like to introduce Lisa. Welcome and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
So, I'd like to first say, what were your initial symptoms of MS?
For me to go to the doctors, I started to get a tingling through my arm, but it felt like glass. I could only describe it like when you've been in a loft and you know the fiberglass feeling from the installation. It was similar to that, and then it turned to like an itching. I went to the doctors and told them I got cream and stuff, and then I went back. Luckily, I was a doctor straight away, went through my previous symptoms and started to put together a little bit of a picture, and she decided that it was best if I went for a nerve conduct test, and that was pretty much my first symptom that led me to the doctors.
Okay.
Yeah, more numbness.
Okay, so when was you diagnosed then?
My diagnosis is 3 years this month coming.
Okay.
That was when I was diagnosed. Symptoms I'd had probably 6 months before diagnosis, them particular symptoms. But initially, as what I've been told, the MS itself has been present for about 8 to 9 years.
So they didn't detect that 8 to 9 years ago?
No, it was just, I was given a lot of other diagnosis of different things before we got to MS. I suffer with a lot of problems with my bowels, so I was just put under the IBS category. Anxiety, because I would go to the doctors quite often with loads of different symptoms. They thought I was just pretty much an anxious person, and any little thing that come to light I'd go to the doctors about. And no one actually pinpointed why. Some weeks it was my legs, some weeks it was my arms. So it was more anxiety I was diagnosed with for a few years before the MS diagnosis.
So, like through school and that, was there any, did you feel that it was different? Was there any symptoms, or was it just later on in life?
No, I don't think really through school. Secondary school, I used to make my mum take me to the doctors a lot. But again, it was just, my mum and myself was just put down as anxious. My mum was quite anxious about me and I was quite anxious about myself. I've always felt it's a strange feeling, I can sort of take myself out my own body. It's like my body goes to sleep but I'm awake.
Like out of body experience.
Yeah, and I've got that for years. It's from when I was younger.
Does that scare you?
Yeah. But when I was about 15, I started to feel like I was in an open space, but it weren't an open space. It was like everything was so far away and I was not there, but I was there. I thought I didn't recognise people, and again, my mum took me to the doctors and I was classed as an anxious person. I was sent to see a psychiatrist and put down as form of paranoia. I've done a few sessions with counselling and one-to-one therapists, and they just said it was more anxiety based.
So
and
this was at what age?
About 16, 17 then.
So that was in your mind from 16, 17?
Yeah, I used to feel like I wasn't in the same room as other people. Like an out-of-body experience, like
Yeah.
I was there but I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was about 17, and that continued for till now.
So you still feel like
I
that
still
now?
get it, yeah, quite often. I just feel like I'm not with it. Like it's a strange feeling. It's like you're there, but you're not.
You feel like you had a sort of a hindrance on your education and, feeling like that majority of the time?
I felt like I was anxious a lot because I've always thought there was something there, but that made me a bit more anxious because I knew something was there, but I couldn't pinpoint it, and then I felt like it was me, it was all in my head. So that made me anxious. I did carry on in school, I finished school and then I worked, but I've always been an anxious kind of person, but a lot of it does stem from me feeling like something was there but not being told it was all in my head. So I think that made me more anxious.
So did that make you feel alone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time, because when someone says there's nothing wrong with you, but you feel like there's something wrong with you, always, because I just felt like I was labelled as somebody with quite high paranoia towards illnesses. That was what the paranoid part was, illnesses. I was paranoid that there was always something wrong with me. So yeah, that made me feel alone, because deep down I thought, no, there's definitely something not right, because I had strange things going on.
So did they know a lot about MS back then, like in the UK?
I think so, but I think MS is one of them, it goes on for many years before it's detected in a lot of people, because it comes as there's a lot of different symptoms, and 90% of them you wouldn't see from the outside, so it takes a long time to piece it all together. So like if you go to the doctors one week and it's about itching, but then next week you can't move your foot, it's going to look like, well, 1 week it's this and 1 week it's something else, but obviously when you put it together it all comes under the umbrella of MS.
Yeah.
So it makes sense now, but back then it didn't make sense to me. So because I'm the first person out of my whole family to be diagnosed with MS. Nobody in my family's got it. Nobody had heard of it. I had, because as I got older I went into care, and I used to care for 3 women with MS. So I knew about it, but my family didn't know anything about it.
Do you think that's what got you into care? Like, coming from that experience and knowing that you felt alone, so going into that.
Yeah, I loved doing caring, to just be that, just give someone to talk to, just to understand if someone's not feeling themselves, just have someone to talk to. I've got a big support network, family, friends, partner, but when someone says it's in your head, that's just your head. There's nothing anybody else can do to take it out of your head apart from yourself.
Yeah.
But when you know something's there, I'm quite a pushy person, I don't let go. So I knew it was there.
So what type of MS do you have? Because as you said, I know it comes under umbrella.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with relapsed remitting MS 3 years ago. I think lately I personally feel like I've progressed into the next stage because I don't feel like I'm relapsing anymore. I've just steadily declined in myself.
So what do you mean by the next stage?
Yeah.
So you've got the relapse remitting, and then you go to secondary progressive, where you no longer relapse. Relapsing is when you have a period of, say, I get up some mornings and I have a period of my legs not working as well as it normally does. That had happened for so long, but then it will return back to it's the way it normally works. So you've had a relapse and you come back out. The second stage is where you don't relapse as often, but your disability side of it steadily declines. So nothing gets better. You don't seem like you get back to the full ability as you was before you started the relapse. I feel like I've probably gone closer towards the second part due to feeling that I'm not the same as I was last year. But with everything that's happened, it could be that.
Is there any sort of medication for that then? Do you know when you say there's different levels? So if
Yeah.
you're at this stage and then you get to that stage, is there a medication to bring you back to that stage, back to
No.
the stage below?
No, you just don't go back. Once you get to the second stage, most of what happens pretty much stays. But it doesn't bring you back. I have medication for MS. I have an infusion every 6 months. That's not to get anything back to what it was before. It's more to stop the relapsing happening, to stop me getting any work, the disability to progress. It's more to slow down the progression. It doesn't halt it. It doesn't change what's already happened. It's more just to sort of stop it from happening so soon.
So it's not a curable sort of...
No, it's not a cure. It just sort of tries to hold back a bit on the relapsing part.
Okay. Did you have any physiotherapy? Because I know a lot.
Yeah, I went through a 4-week programme, not last year, the year before, of neurophysio, because it was more, obviously, my MS is a lot more present in the brain than the spinal cord, so I have a lot of neurophysio, balancing and stuff. It was a 4-week programme, and then due to, obviously, with the COVID situation and stuff, I haven't had anything for the last year and a half.
So that's affected actually your actual getting better than really, hasn't it?
Well, yeah. I'm awaiting physio again now, because although they've never noted lesions in my spinal cord. I've got degenerative changes of the spine, so I've got lumbar spine arthritis is what they've classed it as, but it's from more or less from the MS. So the bottom of my spine is quite weak and breaking down. So I've been waiting for physio to try and obviously keep the strength up on my back, but that was picked up a year and a half ago, and I'm just still waiting there for physio for that.
So you know, like exercising, then what's exercising like? Then that must be painful for you then.
Yeah. I'm a full-time mum, so I do get up and get around, just getting out of bed. But I do try and keep on my feet as much as I can, because I know it's a big part in MS is to try and keep as active as possible. But I do struggle a lot with exercising, which if you can't do it, then it puts you back into square one, so then you feel worse and everything starts to seize up and things like that. But when you're in pain or you physically can't do it, it is hard to try and keep up with it. Yeah, so I do struggle with that part.
So I know you mentioned before about, was it a brain scan and having lesions in your brain? I know we was talking earlier, and you said that there was other patients in there, but with multiple lesions, but you had a couple, and the doctors were shocked.
I had quite a lot. My neurologist, when he actually diagnosed me, I got diagnosed pretty quick. I went for one MRI, and within 7 weeks they called me back and they diagnosed me there and then. I had a lumbar puncture after, which a lot of people have to go through years of scans and tests and stuff. I was diagnosed pretty quick, but the neurologist that diagnosed me said he was shocked that because he never expected my scan to look how it did, because I walked in and I'm quite able-bodied and I can, you know, talk for myself and stuff. He said there's people that he's seen with a couple of lesions that have got significant disabilities. I had quite a lot of lesions on my brain, a lot, in all the areas. Yet he was quite amazed with how I walked in and I got on with stuff.
So every day with the children and, you know, life every day, that, you know, how do you cope with that then?
It's hard sometimes. The kids keep you going though. I think if I got diagnosed after my kids, I think if I'd have got diagnosed before my kids, I would have struggled a lot more, to be fair. Because although I wouldn't have had to have look after them, I think I would have let it beat me a lot more than I have, because I get up every day to look after my kids and I want to do it. Yeah, it's hard. I struggle to get up. I struggle to get up anyway. But I'm lucky with the two boys, because they're really, they're only 8 and 5, but they're really understanding. My 5-year-old will bring me my stick when I need it, and he'll say, "Is your legs hurting? Shall I get it for you?" They're really good like that. But as I said, I've got a good support network, family, friends, partner. I do get a lot of how I'm quite a stubborn person, and I'll do as much as I can for myself. But it's there when I need it. Yeah, the only thing I find it bothers me is the boys being so young, and it's like sometimes we'll go to the park and they'll be like, "Oh, come on, shall we run?" And I just can't. Not like I probably could have years ago. It's just, it's strange, because as the years have gone on, you don't notice. I don't notice how I'm changing until I have to do something. And so, like, even with, silly, but even down to how I walk, I never really noticed until I watched back a video of myself walking, as to realise how I walk different to how I used to walk. So, yeah, things like that. It is hard. It is hard having the little ones, and you're always wondering, I suppose, if everybody with kids, what the future. Yeah, you want to bring them up, don't you? And I've always said, as long as I can get them to, you know, a good age, and then if the disease progresses, then I'm fine with that. Like, I'd accept that. But just while they're young, I just want to try and do as much as I can while I can. And yeah, I try not to stay in the house at all. I try and get out as much as I can, just because I suppose I feel like there's going to be a time when I can't, unless somebody's helping me out. I can't just get up and pop out, so we do try and get out as much as we can and socialise. But again, with the condition, I struggle a bit with that. I have a certain group of people that I'll stay with because I'm comfortable. You know, my friends understand when I can't pack my shopping some days, or they'll just do it, and that's it. And it don't make me feel, you know, like uncomfortable, or yeah, I don't feel worried then, because they'll just do it for me and they don't take any notice. So I like that.
So what was, like, when you first got diagnosed, what was going through your head? I mean, did you know anything about MS?
Yeah, I think I'd self-diagnosed myself, to be fair.
Yeah.
From when I had the MRI, I waited 7 weeks for the scan, and I was talking to my mum, and she said, "Oh, look, you haven't heard anything, no news is good news." And I was talking to my partner, and I said, "No, I know that's something." And I'd already started looking up, I shouldn't have done it, but you know, as you do, start looking up your symptoms and things like that, and MS was one of the first that came up.
Okay. So it wasn't initially that you went on Google and typed MS, you just put symptoms in?
Yeah, it was more my symptoms and the feelings that I had took me to MS.
Yeah.
And then I'd convinced myself that I had it. But when we were sitting in the waiting room to be called in, I was still, part of me was saying, yeah, definitely. And then the other half was saying, no, it can't be. I bet it's nothing again, you know, within your head. I bet it's nothing, I've gone through all this. Just had some nerve conduct tests done and stuff. And I thought, oh, you've gone through all this now and it's probably nothing. And I would have hoped it was nothing. But yeah, I think I pretty much knew. As soon as he said, this is your scan, can you see this? And I said, yeah, MS. And he was like, yeah.
So had you joined any support groups before?
I hadn't before. I did from when I was diagnosed.
Okay.
I didn't before I was diagnosed. But as soon as I was diagnosed, they actually tell you to join support groups because obviously things take time. You've got to wait. You know, you've got to wait a certain amount of time to see an MS nurse, somebody who can help you through, you know, stuff, and then they start putting things into place. So it all takes time. So in the meantime, you're told to sign up for charities, MS Society, and I joined a lot of Facebook groups, MS UK and stuff, and just I did introduce myself on there, but I'm more of just reading and just sort of listening to other people. And although every person with MS is completely different, we're all different, we all have different symptoms, we all live different lives. One struggles in one aspect, the other doesn't, and no MS is the same, and
So
they
it's
tell
like
you that.
spectrum.
Yeah, it's the brain's a big place, and it's where your lesions are as to how you're affected.
Because, you know, I did see something the other day about vegan food and somebody taking vegan food and it was helping them through it. For yourself, how would you think about vegan food?
Yeah,
yourself?
I have looked into, I've been looking for a long time into diets, certain diets, certain exercises. I have done a few different lifestyle changes. I used to smoke cigarettes. I've been stopped a year now because I felt that it was the best thing for me to do. But I have looked into different diets and stuff, and it's getting there though. I take vitamin D high dose because that can help anyway with pains and stuff, and so that's recommended. But I'm pretty much one of them that don't really like to take anything. I have my treatment that I get for the MS every 6 months, and then I pretty much live off paracetamol and ibuprofen and gels and just, you know, stuff like that. And I've tried quite a few things from Holland and Barrett, a lot of the natural remedies, stuff to put in the bath and things like that, but
Did they work?
no, not really. No, it's just I've bought all sorts, cooler blankets, heat blankets, weighted blankets, everything to just try and get a bit of comfort. But because I've tried medication for pain, but because I've never really took stuff like that, when I do take it, it makes me feel really uncomfortable. It takes me sort of out of my own control, which I don't like. That then makes me anxious. So I sort of don't take nothing like that. So I sort of get by with just paracetamol and whatever.
What's the worst condition of MS? You know, what's high on the spectrum?
It's the primary progressive, I think, is the last one, which is pretty much people are the disabling part of that is very high.
Are they bedridden or they
yeah,
in the wheelchair?
Yeah,
like
and then MS can affect obviously your eyes, your swallowing. I've known people to be not be able to swallow, and bedbound.
if they can't swallow, they'll be fed on a drip then?
Peg fed, yeah, through the stomach. That's the worst part of MS. Yeah, that's what the treatment did. I mean, years ago there wasn't what there is now for treatment wise, and that's what the treatment's for, to try and slow down the progression so you don't get to that stage, or if you do, you get a lot longer, a lot older. Look, as I said, I used to care for ladies with MS, as you already said, MS is usually more women get MS more than men. Is known in men, but more women.
But more women. I think, I don't know the exact statistical numbers, but I know it's either 2 or 3 to 1. So every 3 women is 1 male.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, it is. And it's like the diagnosis. It's normally between the ages of 30 to 40.
Okay.
For some reason, MS usually presents, I suppose because it's a progressive disease and everything progressed over time, that's why it's picked up later on, because the progression's a bit more obvious.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. MS is known in kids. There is kids diagnosed with MS, but I think it takes a lot for them to diagnose, because you have to go through a lot of different relapses.
Would you say there's enough being done, enough research, or would you say there could be more done?
I think there could be more of awareness. It's an invisible disease. Like nobody can see to look at me and you wouldn't think, oh, now and again I need to use 2 crutches, or I've got bowel issues and I've got bladder issues and I've got all that, but you can't see it. So it is, and it's not nice sometimes, because
it's fitting you say awareness, because I understand it was MS week just gone. It was in April.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like with all things, like, you get that month. Oh, it's awareness for that month, and then it just...
Then you don't hear about it, it's nothing for
another
another
month. A week, and it's just, okay, well, when MS week, and, there should be more done.
Yeah, I think there should be more awareness. I mean, to be fair, I've been diagnosed 3 years, and I've still a lot to learn. I pick up sometimes I'm a bit ignorant to a lot of things, and I think, if I don't think about it, it's not there with MS. I don't think, for the last 2 years I've been living in a bubble. Like, I actually thought someone was going to phone me up and say, look, we've got it all wrong. It's not that. It's nothing, you're actually fine. And as obviously the years go on, I've had more treatment, I've had more scans, and then you come to realise. It took a lot. I had to have counselling this year because I struggled with the MS part of it. I think being at home as well, shielding. I was put on the shielding list, and I was shielding for 12 weeks the first time. I've got 2 little boys. I had to literally stay in the house. I think it probably played a big part with in everybody's lives, not just mine, but to have that and then progressively be getting worse disease-wise, I did end up turning to counselling, but it's the first time I've had it. But now I wish I'd have done it 3 years ago. Yeah, because it helped a lot. I've always looked at MS as if I acknowledge it, it's beaten me. That's how my mindset was. But after having counselling, I've completely changed it round, and I've now realised accepting it isn't defeat, it's just me accepting. But I'm very much like, if I accept I've got it, then it's defeated, that's it, it's all over. I don't want to be pulled down. I'm quite an independent person, I do everything for myself, and I like that. But I struggled with that part. But as I said, now I wish I'd have done it. Like, for anybody newly diagnosed, counselling is a big, or even anything, just exception, and however you've got to get there.
I was going to say as well, what advice you'd give out there?
Acceptance is a big thing. I mean, even me knowing, but even though I thought in my head I knew I had it, I still never accepted it until recently. It's just like pretending it's not there. It don't work. It shows in the end, and as the disabilities get worse, and I realise now I've got a lot more problems now than I did. You have to accept it. But I think the sooner the better. Definitely to try and find you've accepted, however you want to do it, whether it's not counselling or however, just try and get the acceptance part through with, because it doesn't help to leave it, because then it shows up eventually.
Because if your family is, the whole of your family accepted it as well.
Yeah, well, it's a hard one. I wouldn't say they haven't accepted it, I think, but because I've played ignorant to it, so has everybody else. So that's hard. Sometimes people will be like, oh, but you're all right, you know, and it's nice, the positivity is nice, but sometimes it's nice to people to say, I get it, you know, you're struggling, it's fine. Not sugarcoating it, which I did myself, and I think because I did, everybody around me did.
They're trying to protect you.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But I think sometimes for you to accept it, the closest ones to you need to as well.
Yeah.
And if they haven't, you can't. You need that someone to bounce off.
Yeah.
And that's probably the hardest part.
So did you find someone in the groups or the forums, like you clicked with, that you could bounce off and just vent?
Yeah, do you know, all the groups, everybody's lovely. You know, because it's strange, because you all suffer with the same condition, and yet we're all completely different. All our symptoms are completely different. You know, there's some people that can't do what I do, and I can't do some things that they do.
Yeah.
But we all wake up every morning with the same sort of what's today going to bring. MS it's one of them, and today's, I'm sitting here talking, tomorrow I probably won't be able to get my words out. That's how it works, and that's how I am as a person. One day I could probably play rounders. Next day I can't get out of bed. It's the unknown, but I think because we've all living with the same unknown, like we just don't know. I think it's nice to speak to people that have got that bit of thoughts, sort of thing.
You know, you mentioned about the counselling. Is that something that, is it a program? Do they put you?
I self-referred myself.
So you have to pay for that out of your own?
No, it was charity run based. It was donations, but you do you refer yourself. I referred myself to the 12-week program, and then it was a donational program. It's a charity. It's run on donations as well. But yeah, no, I had to refer myself for that.
Was that advice given by the doctors who diagnosed you, or was it just something you just, done off your own back?
No, I did it off my own back. I can't remember really getting much advice. When I was first diagnosed, I think I was given 3 or 4 leaflets.
That was it?
Yeah, pretty much. And then one of the leaflets was to join different organisations, and then they start sending you out mail, and I've been sent out books, cookbooks, understanding MS books and stuff like that. But yeah, from the day I was diagnosed, not much. I didn't know much then. And then I think it was 7 or 8 weeks later, I was called in for my first appointment with an MS nurse. And then they take over from there, sort of thing. Once you're diagnosed, your main point of communication is with your nurses. I could speak to any of them, but there's usually the same one that will phone. She takes care of all my bloods for when I'm due, my treatment. She does all the phone calls, stuff like that. So I see the same one.
Do they have the same drugs that they use here? So the drugs that you're taking, that they're prescribed you with, do they use them same drugs, say in USA, or?
Yeah, a few of the people on the pages that I'm on Facebook pages and the forums I read, they are different countries. They have got the same drug. I think possibly the criteria is a bit different, because the treatment that I'm on, they've now approved for the next stage of MS, which it wasn't before. You couldn't have treatment for the next stage. The drug I'm on at the minute is approved for the next stage of MS as well. So yeah, I think it is pretty much the same everywhere. Just the criteria may be slightly different and how they do it. Here we get given it every 6 months. But with the current situation, I wait 12 months between my last 2 infusions, because when my CD20 count levels were checked, they were still under 0. So they left it because of with COVID and being, catching. With the treatment I'm on, I'm vulnerable for any infections because I have a weakened immune system. So I'm really vulnerable to infection. So while it was the way it was, they sort of left it, and because the treatment for some reason stays in my system for 12 months, they left me for the 12 months. I had it last in September. I was due March, but my levels was at 0. They haven't come back up. So I had my vaccinations and stuff, and now I've got to wait to repeat my bloods and see how they've come up. If they've come up, I'll go back 6 weeks' time from now and have the next lot of treatment. If not, I could possibly be September again before I get it.
Because what I was going to say is, you said you have your treatment every 6 months, but you said it lasts for 12 months. So yeah, is that because when you went back 6 months later, your levels were fine? So the doctors were like, okay, well, you're okay then. COVID will leave you for 12 months because it's already done that
I think
already.
they started to do the bloods because they like the levels to be at 1. Anybody under 0, we're all different on it. There's some people that are having it every 6 months because when the levels are checked, the levels have gone back up. Once these specific levels for your B cells are up, that's when the MS starts to play havoc. It's the specific B cells that start to cause damage to the protective coating of your nerves. When that's still low, the drug's still in your system and keeping them B cells low, so the less damage is being made. Once your levels go back up, that's when the MS starts to play up again. So I think, but everybody's different. There is some people that are having it every 6 months still, but for me, my levels stayed low for 12 months. So I was left, I had the September, I didn't have it to the last September. Now, I was due March, as I said, but they're still low, so, and with everything that's been going on, and they're trying to keep you out of hospital as much as possible, that's why I was left. And obviously I had to have my injections and stuff before I can.
So how did that make you feel though when you was left, because it could have flared up?
Yeah, so I feel like I have, but it's just the guidelines now and how they're meeting them. It's because they're saying the drug's still in your system. It's not necessary. They don't necessarily need to give it you again yet. Obviously, until you have an MRI, they can't see inside and see what damage is going on. You can only go by what I tell you. I've recently had an MRI. I'm still waiting for the results though of that. But until they see if there's any active lesions or any more damage, we're not going to know if the treatment's still doing its job. Me personally, I feel like I have relapsed at least once since my treatment. I know I can never be a blood donor because they're not sure if it's actually in the blood or not. But yeah, there is. I think there's a certain percentage of your child. If you've got the MS, the child could have the gene, but it's not genetic. My mum and dad haven't got MS, so it's not just genetically passed on. It does worry me though with my own kids because there is a little bit more of a chance that one of my kids will have it because I've got it. But it's something that you just have to work with.
And your kids won't get tested, or was it too early for your kids to get tested?
Yeah, they wouldn't. I don't think they wouldn't even bother until symptoms. Yeah, and I think because of it being a progressive disease, it was strange because once I got diagnosed, I thought, oh gosh, it's because I know. That's why everything's happening to me, because I know it's in my head. But when I spoke to my nurse, she said, no, it's because it's progressive. And although we told you had it years ago, it's took this long to progress for it. So it's not, oh, you know you've got it now, all the symptoms are there. They've been there, but it just takes time to progress. Yeah, they'd have to have a lot of symptoms, and it'd have to go on for a lot of time before they'd test them.
Could you not exaggerate the symptoms?
No.
You know, for them to get tested?
No, no. I'm not sure I'd want them to. Yeah, no. I'd want to know if anybody thought that had MS, I'd tell them to go and see it for definitely 100%, because the treatment now, the research says it's really good. The treatment's proving to be really successful in a lot of people. So if you ever thought you had it, definitely go and get tested, because the quicker you get diagnosed, the quicker you're on the border for treatment, because you have to fit a criteria to get treatment as well. Even if you've got MS, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get any treatment. And I started off on a different treatment when I was first diagnosed. First line, it was a first line treatment. It was an injection. I used to give myself every 3 times a week, a Monday, Wednesday and a Friday. I used to do it. But I was on it really not very long. I used to get instant reactions from it. And then my blood showed that my liver levels was elevated quite a bit. And one of the side effects is liver problems or liver failure. So as soon as my levels started to go high, they took me straight off it. And then I was put on a second line treatment, which is it's more effective than the original one I was on. This one I think is 70% effective. The one I was on first was 30 to 40. So it's a more effective treatment, but you have to meet a criteria, you have to be relapsing, you have to have tried something else, and so it's like you have to meet criteria everywhere.
Yeah. A lot of criteria, isn't there, that you have to meet to...
Yeah, it's not just plain sailing, is it? It's not like, oh, you've got this, we're going to give you this. You've got to have had so many episodes, and they do something called an EDSS score. It's just a basic score on what a neurologist gives you when they examine you, and I think it goes up to 5, I think. And depending on your score is what treatment you're given, I suppose. I think the last time mine was done, when I first was diagnosed, I was at 3.5. So it's just, if it goes up, obviously your treatment's not as effective. If it stays the same, then something's happening, something's working for you.
So, you've gone through a lot. You know you've got MS, and as I said before in the intro, it's invisible, so no one can see. But you and a lot of others, like you, suffer from MS, go through this every day. So, let's say you're out shopping with your kids, park up in one of the superstores. You've got a disabled badge?
Yeah.
So, do you ever feel guilty using it?
Yeah, gosh, I get so.
Why would you feel guilty?
I get very many dirty looks. I do. I'm not gonna lie. I get awful looks. People look at me as if to say, like, why are you there? What are you doing? You can do this. It is a hard one, and having it myself, I mean, it's probably something I never thought about before I was diagnosed, I'm not going to lie, but being diagnosed and knowing what I deal with every day, I feel for people, any underlying health conditions, not nice. An invisible one, though, is hard because as much as I know what I'm going through, the next person don't. And as you said, look, I can get out and I'm fortunate I can walk, but after a bit I do struggle, so I will use a bay sometimes to park in, and yeah, I get looked at. I've been asked what am I doing there. I think people are really quick to judge when it comes to disability badges. I think the sign itself though is
Yeah, it's misleading.
It's misleading.
It's a picture of
it's
a person in a wheelchair.
It is, and I think that's how people always expect a disability to be. I mean, there's thousands of disabilities that you can't see.
I think it should be colour coded.
I
It
think
should
so.
be like a chart, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, rather than a generic guy in a wheelchair.
I have seen a few signs though on people, like toilet doors. Not every disability is visible. I've seen people have started putting that because, again, I've had to use a disabled toilet before, and I've got twitted at and all sorts when I've come out. But yeah, it's just, it is what it is. I carry a card with me though.
Just like bam.
To give it, you know, like,
That's your evidence there.
Just because sometimes I have to just get to the toilet as quick as I can. But obviously I'm still youngish, and people look at it like, oh, I'm ignorant, I could wait in that long queue, but I actually can't.
Yeah.
So that part of it's, I get that quite a lot.
So you know, like in say the next 5 years, then if the doctor says where you'd be in the next 5 years or anything like that?
No, I don't think, because everybody's MS is completely different. No two MS is the same, and there's no cure. They don't know why I've got it. They don't know how I got it. They just don't know what's. I think it's just. I was pretty much told it's one of them diseases. You're just gonna have to take each day as it comes, and just hope you can do as much as you can for as long as you can. But I'm not a negative thinker, but I am a little bit of a negative thinker. I actually think, I don't have high hopes for myself long run. I think because I've seen quite a big decline in my own self, mainly over the last 2 years. I do think it won't be long before I do have to start using a lot more adaptations to what I do now. I do use stuff at home, adaptations in my own house, but I think I might need to use a few more aids a bit sooner than what I'd like to. But only time will tell. I could be wrong. I could be still running my own rounders in 10, 15 years' time, you don't know. But it's sort of just sitting and hoping that it don't happen. But like I said, as long as my kids are little, as long as I can get through till they're a bit older, running around and playing and whatever, and then I'll take whatever's coming.
So what should abusers be looking out for? Like, you know, I heard that if you get tingling, if your arm feels heavy, if your leg feels heavy, if you get blurred vision, what sort of signs should people be looking for?
Yeah, all of them really. I said I started off with more of a numbness. You know, you've been sitting, if you sit on the floor and you sit on your leg for ages and you get up and you've got that dead leg. That's my leg constantly. That's how I feel my leg is. Always asleep. That often, all the time. I did actually get itching. It wasn't one of the symptoms a while back, but I think it has been added now, because quite a lot of people it's a strange itch, no reason, just itch for no reason, no hives, you know, no like allergic reaction, no nothing, just an itch. But yeah, numbness, tingling, blurred vision, like you said, anything like that. And I've got something called foot drop, where my foot just doesn't pick itself up. It's behind me a lot.
You know, I've had that feeling before. Seriously. That was probably one of my first symptoms. Foot drop. I see a specialist now, but over time, both of my feet have like sort of turned in. There wasn't before. That's something I didn't notice until I went to see a specialist, and they actually picked it up then and said, look, your ankle's rolling now. So that's another thing that I never noticed. Things like that, any little things like that. The only thing is, like, if you really feel like there's something not right, like, be persistent. Like,
after a bit, like, everybody gets fed up if you just keep, not to bug them, but, you know, like, if you feel like further investigation needs, then nobody knows you better than you. And if you feel that there's something ain't right, like, just push for it and just keep, you know, I think a lot of people are turned away, and 90% of the time it probably maybe isn't nothing, and they hope it's nothing, but I think sometimes I was made to feel a bit like a hypochondriac more than anything, because I have a lot of varied symptoms, and it was, gosh, for a young girl there's always something wrong with you, and that was actually said to me once years back, you know, you're so young to be having all these problems, but over time it was probably the MS that very much started, and it started to, you know, show a bit. Yeah, so
it just shows you that a lot more awareness needs to be.
Yeah. I think people as well, once they are diagnosed, just don't do it alone. Like, really, I was very much the closed book. I still quite am, as in, I don't really ask for no one to help me for nothing. I'll do everything and push myself to the limit.
That's your stubborn side.
Yes, that's my stubborn side.
You do that with your partner as well then?
Yeah, I do it with everybody. I will be like, no, I'm fine. And really, I'm like, oh my God, please help me. Yeah, I suffer with poor grip, and I'm just constantly, I smash, don't know what, every week I've smashed something. But I've started to, if somebody's there now, look, can you get that out, please, because I'm going to break it. Yeah, just don't feel like you're alone. There is a lot of support. If you just, the only problem is you have to just go out and look for it yourself. It's like, and sometimes when you're newly diagnosed, you just feel like you just want to curl up in this ball, and you know, you just, it's a lot to take in, but just, you know, get out there.
So what are some of the Facebook pages names, you know? MS UK is one of the first ones I joined. But if you type in MS, there's a lot of pages will come up. I'm in a lot of them, and they're all really nice pages. Like I learn a lot, and I just sometimes you know, you see something, you think, oh God, that happened to me. I don't feel alone now. You know, so they are a big help. And like I said, if you're struggling mentally to accept the condition after being diagnosed, counselling was the best thing I ever done. Well, we'll have a link after the show with numbers and emails and websites.
Yeah, definitely.
So, just to wrap it up, a little bit more question. If you was in my shoes, what question would you ask yourself that we haven't asked you? Or do you think that, because I'm not expert on MS, is there something that you felt we haven't touched upon, so you could just let viewers know?
No, not really. Just no. Like like I said, if you're diagnosed, it's not easy. It's never going to be easy, mentally, physically. Mental side plays a big part. It's frustrating not doing something that you once could. Down to opening my son's beaker in the morning. I've spent many mornings crying. At 7 o'clock in the morning crying to not be able to open this beaker. And sort of, I beat myself up about it afterwards. Now I've come to realise, like, it's not my fault. It's beyond my control. If I can't open it, I can't open it. I'm just going to buy an easier one. Because I'm just spending far too much time crying over beakers. Yeah,
That's
just
good advice.
yes, really. Like, I've gone to electric tin openers. I have adapted a lot. At one point I wouldn't have, but I've learned to just. It's not going. I'm never getting rid of it. I'm going to just live with it and work with it, because it is actually the invisible monster, literally, and I can only work with it and try my best to fight it off sometimes. But no, just like really like just do your best, and that's it. And when you know better, do that.
Sounds
Just-
like you're a strong woman
That's what I was
with
going to say, you know what,
with
from us, like,
a
yeah.
good family
Yeah.
support.
And people say, but it's one of them things, isn't it? They say, how do you do it? And you don't have a choice. My kids, my family, my friends, nobody's letting me give up anytime soon. It's a case of having to. But no, I like to think for as long as I can do it myself,
Yeah, don't give up.
I will do it myself. That's not me being ignorant, that's just me being like, I want to do it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's
Thanks.
the end of the
Thank
podcast, and we'll see you in the next one. From myself.
And the team, all of us, see you next time.